How's it going, everyone? Welcome to 2024. A whole new year of movies and shows awaits us. I'm very excited. I chose 12 things to talk about that I loved in the last year. In fact, a huge reason behind this list is for me to highlight the things I loved that I didn't explicitly talk about on my channel for whatever reason. But with all that being said, let's get started with number 12. You remember that random Amazon Prime movie that got released in March and no one talked about it, but I watched it. I sure do. It's called Air, and it was a great time. Air stars Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They're basically going through the story of how they created the Jordan brand as we know it. Matt Damon is like the scrappy go-getter salesman that's always determined to find the next big thing, and Ben Affleck's the guy that just sits back in his CEO chair and he's like, yeah, it's not happening, bro. They have a long storied career together, so yeah, seeing them on screen again was great. I love me a good sports drama. Viola Davis absolutely is a scene stealer on the later half of this movie. It's just a really nice underdog story of a movie. If you like sports dramas, if you love movies with the scrappy go-getter just willing to do whatever it costs to get to his goal, this is a movie for you, and I'd strongly recommend it. So The Last of Us show released early in January of last year. I watched it start to finish, and it was surprisingly good. Like, not even competent, just like unironically great. The Last of Us comes out swinging and is so true to the source material of the video game with a couple notable exceptions, but they really got the key core of the story. They understand that the heart of this story is Joel and Ellie, and Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey absolutely crushed it here. Being a huge fan of the video games, I'm always gonna have a soft spot for Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson's original performances, but they bring their own unique spin to these characters that makes it feel familiar and fresh at the same time. The makeup and special effects were mind-blowing. The infected looked so gross. They sounded exactly as gross and disgusting as they do in the game. And just the stunt work with all the contorting body horror that they do, the sounds they make, it was awesome. Bill and Frank's episode was one of the best episodes of TV last year. It takes a minor side character that only gets like an hour or two of screen time in the game, and it makes him have maybe the most heart-wrenching story in the entire show. The Last of Us show was awesome. I'd strongly recommend it. I'm not even a zombie person. I hate zombies. I usually hate survival horror, but the video games and now the show, they're awesome. I am scared as hell for season 2 because yeah, if you know, you know. I took John Wick 4 for granted. I'm just gonna be straight up. I watched it opening weekend. I didn't think highly enough about it to do a full-length review, but upon thinking about it more and more, this movie's freaking great. It is the culmination of the John Wick story. It is an epic, international, sprawling adventure. So many different locations, so many set pieces, all filmed on location. It really expands the lore. The John Wick movies, for me, have always been such a cut above the typical action romp. The stunt work, the choreography, the set pieces, they're all returning here and they're all top notch. The lore and the world building they set up with the codes the assassins have to follow and things like that have always been a staple of these movies and is really well done here. Donnie Yen kicks all sorts of ass. He's awesome. Keanu Reeves does his thing as usual, and it's a very satisfying conclusion to the John Wick quadrilogy, I guess it is now. I watched this movie one time in March, and I'll still never forget the top-down action sequence when John Wick is just clearing out a room and it looks like Hotline Miami. Yeah, that was definitely a highlight sequence I've experienced in the theater this year. The John Wick movies are awesome and deserve more attention on this channel. I realize that. Is it one of the best action franchises in the last 20 years? Yeah. Everybody needs a best friend. 2023 will forever be the year for me where I'm like, oh yeah, Strays was definitely that movie I would love to watch whenever I'm a couple drinks in and you just have some friends and you want to show them something funny and stupid and silly. This is it. It's an R-rated raunch comedy, sure, it has a little too many phallic jokes regarding dog anatomy, also true, but it actually has a fairly competent story. You have Will Ferrell's character that's used to being in an abusive relationship with his owner, and he gets put out, he becomes a stray, he meets Jamie Foxx, and they're like, okay, let's get the band together, let's get revenge on your piece of crap owner. And there were several things that stuck out to me in this movie for a type of movie that would usually be like a 3 or 4 out of 10. This is from the producers of Cocaine Bear, for crying out loud. A huge part of that is the voice acting across the board is freaking excellent. Nobody skips, no one's here to cash in a paycheck. Every single A-list celebrity that's in this movie gives it their all, and it was really refreshing and surprising. Pleasantly surprising to see. Will Ferrell has always been a great voice actor, and he does a really good job as Reggie. He's that hopeful, optimistic dog that always sees the best in people, but even he has a breaking point. Even he realizes when he's had enough, and he's spurred on by Jamie Foxx's character, and Jamie Foxx has some of the best line deliveries of any comedic performance I've seen all year, straight up. You can definitely tell Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx were in the booth recording together for several scenes of this movie, and their chemistry is off the charts. You have great supporting performances by Randall Park and Will Forte that are really funny. They got plenty of laughs out of me. I think its batting average for a comedy is well done. I found myself laughing hysterically in several scenes throughout this movie. And the story, as corny as it is, as ridiculous as it is, it approaches the story with a good amount of heart and sincerity. They take the opportunity to use the relationship for humans and their dogs as, you know, just like a broader allegory for abusive relationships and how someone deserves to be treated. Within the performances and story themselves, there's legitimate heart here, so if you're a pet person, if you're a dog lover especially, you're gonna find some enjoyment in this movie. I watched this movie like 4 times this year. I have no regrets. Strays is great. 2023 was a super unforgiving year for blockbusters, and especially for superhero movies. But Guardians 3 was one of those movies to buck the trend, because this movie is great. It's the concluding chapter for the Guardians as we know it, and Rocket steals the show. This is his movie, and that's a huge reason why I love it so much. Bradley Cooper's vocal performance, along with the absolutely heart-wrenching backstory he receives, really gives this movie a time in the spotlight. Guardians 3 is the best MCU movie to come out since Endgame, and it's not close for me. You know what movie just kinda came out of freaking nowhere and caught us all by surprise? Godzilla Minus One. Why is this movie so good? Like, why is it this good? A monster movie where the human characters are so interesting, so emotionally driven, so well fleshed out, so well acted, so well written. What is going on here? The score was epic. The sound design and visual effects were some of the best of the year, which is absolutely insane considering this movie's $15 million budget. This movie did for me this year what Top Gun Maverick did for me in 2022, where it was just such a feel-good, emotionally driven movie that you're like, heck yeah, the indomitable will of the human spirit. You'll love to see it. I need to see this movie again because I absolutely loved it. Godzilla Minus One, full recommendation here. Another movie that just kind of snuck up on me, didn't have a lot of marketing, but ended up being great, The Iron Claw. This movie's incredible. It's based on a true story. It's a A24 sports drama following the Von Erichs, one of the most famous wrestling families of their generation. Zac Efron as Kevin is one of the best performances of any lead actor I've seen in a movie this year. If the Academy has any balls, they will at least nominate him. His family is said to be cursed, and you really see that throughout the events that unfold throughout the movie, but also the relationship, the very toxic relationship that Zac Efron, that Kevin and his brothers have with their father, where they're all vying for his attention, where they all want to be the favorite son, and it ultimately destroys their family. That was a really compelling dynamic to see. I'm not gonna forget this movie anytime soon. It made me feel all sorts of human emotions that I wasn't always comfortable with. It deals with a lot of toxic relationships and abuse and family dynamics that aren't always comfortable to watch or discuss, but it's portrayed so vividly in such a raw manner. This movie had all my attention. I would highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites of the year. As far as TV goes, it doesn't get much better than The Bear. The Bear had its second season premiere on FX and Hulu this year, and oh my god, where do I start with this show? It follows Carmen, a masterful chef who inherits his family's restaurant after the tragic passing of his brother, a tragedy that drives a huge wedge between himself, his cousin, and his sister who also work at the restaurant.
This is your brother's house. I was running it fine without you.
Why didn't he leave it to you then?
The characters in this show are extremely broken. They've all gone through some sorts of trauma and they really need this restaurant. They really need cooking just to feel alive. They need it to connect with each other. They need it to heal. They need it to move on. And the performances are an absolute masterclass. Jeremy Allen White as Carmy, there isn't enough I could say about him. His character is on an absolute seesaw of mental and emotional extremes, and Alan White's performance delivered these moments in spades. The emotional honesty he brings in some of the show's more dramatic moments is absolutely breathtaking, and Emmy well deserved. I also adored Ayo Adibari's performance as Sydney. Her character has a lot of adjusting to do throughout the series as a new hire that comes in to be the sous chef and shake up the restaurant's culture for the better. So watching her gain the respect of her coworkers and find family through the restaurant is a joy to see. Ayo's unique sense of humor shines in her performance, and this again is a well-deserved Emmy-winning performance that I am ecstatic to see recognized. You know what? There's too much stuff to talk about. This show deserves its own video. I'm looking forward to season 3. If you haven't seen this show already, watch it, watch it, watch it. I haven't even talked about how it's an absolute love letter to the city of Chicago and portrays it in a very honest, real, down-to-earth light, not as just some famous tourist attraction city. I love the way this show depicts Chicago. That's also a nice bonus for someone like myself. The Bear is freaking awesome. Watch it now. Oppenheimer took the world by storm last year, and I am so glad to have been a part of it. If you watched my video, you know that I had the opportunity to see this movie in IMAX 70mm format, and it was one of the most engrossing theatrical experiences of my life. Christopher Nolan just being an auteur at filmmaking and really valuing IMAX as a format, just the picture clarity, the sound quality is absolutely incredible in this movie. Cillian Murphy, Best Actor of the Year. Robert Downey Jr., Best Supporting Actor. It's in the bag. The sound design and score, Ludwig Göransson's score in this movie, oh my goodness, I'm hearing it as I'm talking about it. And also the visual effects. This movie not having a single CGI shot is absolutely insane when it comes to the Trinity test and when it comes to the bomb actually going off. The sound mixing is incredible. Oh my goodness, so many masterful uses of silence. Oppenheimer was next level. I absolutely loved it. If somehow you haven't seen it, here's your recommendation. A 2023 movie that came out, and I'll always kick myself for not recommending it time and time again on this channel, was called Past Lives. This was a little indie A24 film that was a romantic drama centering around two characters that are reconnecting with each other after years of being childhood friends. This was one of the most engrossing, heartfelt, emotional movies I saw in 2023, and I'm never going to forget it. I saw it twice in theaters. It's extremely reminiscent of films like Your Name and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, the latter of which they actually reference directly in the movie. But it's just a really heartfelt story about what makes you feel fulfilled in life being worth living because of the connections we make along the way, unrequited love, unfulfilled dreams. It's about so many things. It's so thematically resonant. And the performances are awesome as well. Greta Lee is incredible. Tae Yoo has one of the most earnest, nuanced, incredible performances of any actor this year. I love this movie. The cinematography is so well done. This movie puts on an absolute masterclass when it comes to just visual storytelling. How the characters are blocked, where the camera is placed, just what these characters' physical proximity within the frame says about their relationship and what they're thinking is so well done. It follows two characters that have grown apart over time but still yearn for the emotional connection and nostalgia they found within their relationship. Despite achieving moderate success in their personal lives, they still constantly wonder, what if? What if they never immigrated from Korea? What if they didn't meet their significant other? And of course, what if they decided to be together? You know the laundry and taxes scene from Everything Everywhere All at Once? Imagine a whole movie of that kind of emotional gut punch. Past Lives is an absolute achievement, and I'll never forgive myself for not reviewing it earlier this year. You know that show that absolutely takes over your life? It becomes an obsession, and part of that obsession is that none of your friends actually take up your recommendation to watch it? That's right, it's Succession. Succession is one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Succession is one of my favorite things I've watched this year. All 4 seasons are so good. This show is generally like Game of Thrones if it took place in a boardroom in corporate America. The drama is just so damn juicy. It's like a 3-course meal of alliances, betrayals, and suspense. The show is often likened to a Shakespearean tragedy with how the characters constantly perpetuate toxic cycles of emotional abuse and self-sabotage. The conditional love and competitiveness Logan Roy instilled in his children is something they never really grew out of. The siblings manipulate and betray each other with such vitriol, thinking the CEO position will make them happy, when all they want is their father's approval.
The good thing about having a family that doesn't love you is you learn to live without it.
What? Connor, that's
You're all
not...
chasing after dad saying, "Oh, love me, please love me. I need love, I need attention."
The characters are psychologically complex and brought to life expertly by some of the best performances in recent TV history. Jeremy Strong plays Kendall's obsession with the company and mental anguish so perfectly. Sarah Snook is an absolute miracle as Shiv. The restrained anger and viciousness in which she plays this character was so enthralling to watch. She lives up to her name and is constantly willing to play both sides, but you still find ways to root for her. Kieran Culkin is flat out hilarious as Roman. His comedic timing with some of these one-liners is enough to make Robert Downey Jr. blush.
I swear to God, Dad, if you bring him back, I am walking. Back to my office to sulk.
Matthew Macfadyen is absolutely brilliant as Tom and crushed my heart several times throughout the series with his emotionally driven performance. He made me laugh, he made me cry, and just about everything in between. And finally, Brian Cox as Logan Roy is a legendary performance. He is an absolute force of nature in this role. Dude is the freaking Lizard King and he knows it. He's terrifying, he's borderline untouchable. This is a performance I will never forget. I can't say enough about Succession. I can't praise it enough in a short segment of a video like this. Again, it deserves its own review, but this is my full recommendation for one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. If you know me at all, you know Across the Spiderverse had to be number 1. This is my favorite thing that came out. This movie absolutely changed my life for the better. It's one of those fine art pieces where you just take a step back and you just say, how does this exist? How did people make this? With a lot of crunch. Why is this good? Why does every single thing from the animation, the music, the storytelling, why does it all work so well? Into the Spider-Verse was lightning in a bottle. A basically perfect movie, and they did it again. Across the Spider-Verse is one of those rare art pieces when I'm just like, I am so glad to be born at the time I was so I could be here to experience this. This is next level. This movie is everything, man. I cannot wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I can't imagine how many different techniques animation-wise that they will employ, and just seeing the technology evolve in the short time in between these movies. This movie just shook something visceral inside me. It made me so excited for animation because it's an art form in and of itself. It's not a random genre. It is a medium of storytelling. It deserves to be taken just as seriously as live action and any other form of storytelling in media. My biggest regret is that I gave it a 9 out of 10 in my review when it's absolutely a 10. So that was my list of 12 things I loved in 2023. What a great year overall. I kind of doubt that 2024 can top it, but I'm open to being wrong. If you stuck around this long to the end of the video and you haven't liked or subscribed or commented, you know what to do. Do your boy a favor. Goes great lengths to help out the channel and makes me feel a little bit warmer inside. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking forward to a new year of new content and new reviews, so definitely stick along for that. I am Pac. Thanks so much for hearing my perspective, and I'm out for now.